Welcome to the NovaLeague. I'm Gremlin, and I'm way too obsessed with ALOLA to be trusted with making theories about Pokemon games, but you have to hear me out on this one. I'm crazy, I'm biased, but I'm right. The Aether Foundation from ALOLA will play some sort of role in Legends ZA, and the first gameplay trailer has made this clear to me. Allow me to convince you. Of all the regions to have ALOLA lore connected to it, KALOS on the surface makes no sense. It's based on France, and ALOLA is based on Hawaii. Hopefully I don't need to explain to you that those are not close together. But, I don't know if you've noticed, Game Freak kind of hasn't forgotten about ALOLA. They haven't stopped referencing it. The immediate follow-up games to Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon were Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and they had a reduced dex focusing on just Generation 1 Pokemon. They didn't even let stuff like Golbat evolve, but they did include the Alolan forms, and also their Megas. Also, the Fairy Trial Captain was there for some reason. In Sword and Shield's Isle of Armor DLC, there's an entire quest revolving around the collection of Alolan Diglett with Alolan forms as gift rewards, and eventually, the starters. And despite not being legendaries, the Dynamax adventures had a whole focus on Ultra Beasts. In Legends Arceus, Rowlet is a starter, and there's an entire quest surrounding the only regional form in the game that isn't Hisuian, Alolan Vulpix. In Scarlet and Violet, several teachers in the school have references to ALOLA as early as the opening of the game, and in the DLC, there's a massive focus on the ALOLA region in the terrarium, including not being able to start the story until you've caught an Alolan form. Also, you can get Aether Foundation shoes in this game. And this goes both ways. Weirdly, ALOLA has been connected to KALOS from the start. Our first hint at Gen 7 games was through the strange souvenir sold in X and Y, and the only generation outside of 6 that has had Mega Evolution was 7. And I think, to borrow a phrase from KALOS, the pièce de résistance here is Dexio, Sinnoh, Looker, and Zygarde. The only forms of Zygarde shown in the trailer for ZA were forms which debuted for the first time in the games in ALOLA. These forms of Zygarde, as of right now, until ZA releases, can't even be obtained in KALOS, but they can be in ALOLA. The ALOLA games have a strange focus on Zygarde and include the recurring KALOS characters of Dexio and Sinnoh to explain this connection to you. And they're working alongside the Aether Foundation to study Zygarde. It's in the Aether Foundation that we're able to construct the Zygarde cells into a Zygarde in the first place. Zygarde itself is the guardian of nature, and the Aether Foundation's goal is basically a conservation effort to protect Pokemon and their habitats. And not to get ahead of myself, but in the ZA trailer, Quasartico's goal is the same thing. The whole point of the game is to make the city more friendly to Pokemon, to conserve them. In Ultra Sun and Moon, the Aether Foundation work alongside the Ultra Recon Squad to study Ultra Beasts and deal with the Ultra Wormholes. This is important. Looker, in the Gen 6 games of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, was our first look at a character referred to as a faller, a time-traveling universe jumper that falls into a different timeline, which sounds familiar if you've played Legends Arceus. He was also important in X and Y, and his office is shown in the gameplay trailer with a conspiracy board like I'm doing right now, so we'll likely see him again, and considering that this game is in the future, he will have had the experience he gained in ALOLA. Now, look at the logo for Quasartico Inc. Gold on white. And it looks like a wormhole. The Aether Foundation, also gold on white, dealt with wormholes. Look at the aesthetics of the two. Could the CEO be related to Lusamine? And here's my dumbest piece of evidence, and the one thing that sparked this entire video. Bear with me. These trees, which according to the map only appear outside Quasartico, look exactly like Alolan Executor. Why are they planted here? Now, I'm not saying that they are Alolan Executor, they are just trees, but why do they look like them, and why here specifically if they weren't, I don't know, brought from ALOLA? Is Quasartico a branch of the Aether Foundation? Even in ALOLA, they reference the fact that they are only the Alolan branch, implying that there's more out there. I believe that Zygarde is the connective tissue between ALOLA and KALOS, and because of this, it may justify the starters getting regional forms instead of Megas, considering that regional forms were introduced in ALOLA, which is another thing that Game Freak has been carrying over since then. I also believe that Looker is going to play an important role in the story, and considering his connection to Sinnoh, the games he originated in, and also the first games to get a Legends game, KALOS, Hoenn, and ALOLA, it might shine some light on how Mega Rayquaza could tie into all of this. Rayquaza? Quasartico? I mean, it is the first Pokemon to Mega Evolve, right? Now, all this to say, I'm not implying something crazy, like that we're going to go to ALOLA or something. The most I'm implying is that ALOLA's lore and the Aether Foundation more specifically are likely going to play an important role in the story through the existence of Luka. Luka is a character who has been strangely absent for a while, considering the emphasis they started to place on him in generations 4 and 6 and 7, and so I think it's his time to shine. I think there's a lot more to this story than meets the eye, and I believe that the Legends games are Pokemon's attempt at really tying together a connective overarching story for the Pokemon franchise. And as stupid as it sounds, these trees that we see for half a second are what sparked all this for me. And I'm not going into some of my more crazy ideas, like the fact that in Legends Arceus we see the Hoenn bad guys, or at least their ancestors, and we also see an ancestor to Alder in a painting, and there's some strange implications with time travel as seen in, Hisui and Scarlet and Violet, and alongside alternate universes like we see with the wormholes that make me believe that maybe, just maybe, we might see the return of Rainbow Rocket, but that's my straight up actual conspiracy theory stuff. I'm only telling you the things that I think might actually happen, but trust me, there's way more strange things I can make connections with here. And ALOLA's at the center of it all. Anyway, what do you think? Am I insane? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Like and subscribe so you don't miss when we play through these games and you can laugh at me for being wrong. I'll see you then.